Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, and fellow advocates for justice, today we gather to discuss a topic of paramount importance: human rights in the Philippines. The Philippines, a nation rich in culture and history, has long been a battleground for the struggle of human rights. From the colonial era to the present day, the Filipino people have fought violently for their rights and freedoms, often at great personal cost. As we delve into this complex issue, we will explore the historical context of the human rights in the Philippines, the current challenges faced by the nations, and the vital role that each of us plays in the advocating for justice and accountability. To understand the current state of human rights in the Philippines, we must first examine its historical roots. The struggle for human rights in the Philippines can be traced back to the Spanish colonial period, when Filipinos were subjected to oppression and exploitation. The fight for independence from colonial rule has ruled by a desire for freedom and dignity, culminating in the Philippine Revolution in 1896. This revolution was not only a struggle for independence, but also a fight for the recognition of basic human rights. The Declaration of Independence in 1898 marked a significant milestone. Yet, the subsequent American colonization brought new challenges as the U.S. imposed its own set of law and governance structures, often regarding the rights of the Filipino people. The post-colonial era saw the establishment of the Philippine Commonwealth and the drafting of the 1935 Constitution, which included provision for civil liberties and social justice. However, the promises of these rights was often undermined by the political inability and the rise of authoritarianism. The declaration of martial law in 1972 under President Ferdinand Marcos marked a dark chapter in Philippine history, as thousands of Filipinos were subjected of human rights abuses, including extrajudicial killings, enforced disappearances, and torture. The Marcos regime's brutal crackdown on dissent and opposition led to widespread protest and a strong human rights movement that ultimately contributed to the People Power Revolution in 1986, which ousted Marcos and restored democracy in the Philippines. Despite the restoration of democracy, the struggle for human rights in the Philippines has continued. The 1987 Constitution enshrined a comprehensive Bill of Rights, affirming rights of life, liberty, and property, as well as freedoms of speech, assembly, and religion. However, the implementation of these rights has been fraught with challenges. The persistence of poverty, corruption, and political violence has created an environment where human rights violations continue to occur. This rise of extrajudicial killings, particularly in the context of government war on drugs, has drawn international condemnation and raised serious concerns about the rule of law and accountability in the Philippines. The war on drugs, launched by President Roa Rodrigo Duterte in 2016, has been characterized by the significant increase in extrajudicial killings, with thousands of individuals, many of whom are poor and marginalized, losing their lives in the name of so-called war on crime. Human rights organizations, both local and international, have documented numerous cases of killings, often carried out by police and vigilant groups, with little to no accountability for the perpetrators. The government's response to these allegations has often been dismissed, claiming criticism as an attack of the state and its effort to maintain law and order. This has created a climate of fear and impunity where individuals are reluctant to speak out against abuses for fear and reprisal. In addition to the war on drugs, other pressing human rights issues persist in the Philippines. The rights of indigenous peoples are frequently violated, as their ancestors' lands are encroached upon by mining companies and agribusinesses. Indigenous communities often face violence and displacements as they resist their incursions, leading a cycle of poverty and marginalization. The government's failure to recognize and protect the rights of indigenous people has resulted in widespread protests and calls for justice. Yet meaningful change remains elusive. Moreover, the rights of women and LGBTQ plus individuals continue to be under threat in the Philippines. Gender-based violence, including domestic violence and sexual harassment, remains a pervasive issue, exacerbated by societal norms that often blames victims rather than hold perpetrators accountability. The lack of comprehensive legislation to protect women and LGBTQ plus individuals from discriminations and violence further perpetuates this injustice. While there have been strides towards greater acceptance and recognitions of LGBTQ plus rights, including the passage of anti-discrimination ordinances in some local government units. The national government has yet to enact comprehensive legislation that guarantees equal rights for all. The media landscape in the Philippines also poses significant challenges to human rights. Journalists and media organizations have faced increasing threat and violence, particularly when reporting on sensitive issues such as corruption, human rights abuses, and government accountability. The promise of human rights remains unfulfilled for far too many, but the struggle continues, fluid by the unwavering belief in the inherent worth of every human being. Let us renew our commitment to this noble cause, working together to build a world where human rights are not merely words on a page, but a lived reality for all. Let us be the generation that finally fulfill the promises of human rights for all. That's all. Thank you.